I found out at 2 a.m. New Year's Day that my wife was having an affair. She kept going for another 8 months. Male 28, when I was 21, I met my first girlfriend, who also happened to be the first person I ever slept with. Because I loved her, we were engaged, married, and moved in together after a 6.5-year courtship and relationship. I began to have reservations about her and one of her employees who had become very connected to her. The fact that this woman was the love of my life and my wife made me miss a number of warning signs. After all, why would she do such a horrific act? However, when more red flags began to appear, the suspicions began to grow. I confronted her about these issues, including the fact that he and she were constantly texting. I had noticed several messages from him to her that contained rows of love emojis, and how she would always choose to go places with him over me, even when I specifically requested that we, myself and her, go somewhere together. She took him to a bird park that I like visiting. She let him to remain with her for one night while I was away, and when I returned, the bed sheets were in the washing machine waiting to be washed. That she was gone from me on New Year's Eve, as if I were some kind of bad guy or had done something wrong, had finally worn me out. Her phone was confiscated, and I was able to see her messages with him from that night, when they were proclaiming their love for one another. Obviously, I was distraught, but, foolishly, I attempted to save our relationship by whatever means necessary. Few weeks later, I learned that they had been having relations with one another as well, and after a heated discussion, she promised to stop. I had been deceived. She went to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, but only had one gym outfit in the wash by the end of the session, nor did she appear tired or her fitness level change. I became suspicious when she went to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, but only had one gym outfit in the wash by the end of the session, nor did she appear tired or her fitness level change. When I found out that she had named a star after him on his birthday, which happened to be only a few weeks before mine, I immediately demanded a divorce. I'd had enough of this. It was she who lied to our friends and family about what had happened, stating that we had just grown apart and preferred different things from one another. Everything, including her confessions for the other person, the name the star purchase, and photographs of them on excursions that I was completely unaware of, is posted on Facebook as a reaction to her actions. Let me admit it was not my finest hour, and it was probably not even fair to the other party. After the divorce, I said that I would never speak or hear from her again. This was around 2 years ago, at the time of writing, and she has messaged me twice since then, both of which I have completely ignored and refused to respond to. However, I have the evidence of what she did in case she tries anything again in the future. Sincerely, my first significant relationship was a roller coaster trip of emotional highs and lows. Then, 4 months later, on the eve of Christmas, I lost both my job and my house, and I had to move back in with my mother. Now, many years after my incarceration, I'm back on my feet, working at a new job and looking for a new place to live. I've also returned to karate, where I'm now part of a kata squad and in touch with many old acquaintances. I don't care about her anymore, I'm a lot happier now. Story 2. Me, male 33, found out wife, female 35, has been cheating with coworker for several months. My wife, female 35, has been cheating on me for some months with a male colleague of hers, and I just discovered this lately, as in, last night, when I discovered it. We have been together for around 13 years, and have been married for 8 of those years. To say I'm heartbroken would be an understatement. There were a few symptoms that our relationship was in trouble, but I put them up to the stress of our work and the home-seeking process, which we had been engaged in for more than 6 months. According to her, I wasn't paying attention to her and had a negative attitude regarding her work schedule, working over, traveling. Since of her job, she would regularly travel for work, which I understood but didn't like to the same amount because it made me feel like we were spending less time together and that we were moving away. She said to me that she had cheated because she was able to confide in her colleague, who was also married, about work-related concerns, and the two of them developed an emotional connection as a result of their friendship. It seems to be as well. She had met with him 3 times in the previous 2 months, each time at a different hotel in the region. She maintains that their most recent encounter, which took place only last week, was their last since they both recognized what they were doing was wrong and that she was done with him. My close buddy had just discovered his wife cheating, and my wife said that this was the catalyst that made her recognize what she was doing. My guess is that she was apprehended and is now attempting to make things seem less serious. We would have purchased a house together if I hadn't caught her, and she would very certainly still be cheating on me if I hadn't gotten her. My primary issue with her argument is that I had the impression that I was checking in with her on a regular basis to make sure there were no problems, which I didn't since she was occasionally in a disinteresting mood. We didn't fight very frequently, and we were having at least twice a week on average, which was a little decrease from our previous frequency of 3 to 4 times a week. It occurred to me that the reason for the modest reduction was due to our hectic schedules, which included home searching, working, and keeping up with the household. She never stated that she was displeased with our chats, and to be honest, I felt we had a very good conversation. We often went out and performed things together, such as hiking, going to a restaurant, and so on. I admit that I should have made a stronger effort to take her out on dates and be more spontaneous in my approach to dating. I guess I'll never find out the answer. The one rising issue I had was her secrecy around her phone, and it turned out to be correct in the end. Ironically, the infidelity didn't take place when she was on business trips, but rather while I was out of town or during the week, when she would call in ill and book a hotel room instead. I was unaware of the hotel since she had used reward points to pay for her stay, and I didn't have access to those accounts at the time. Even worse, we had gotten into an agreement to buy a house that we had found on our own. We'll be able to pull out of the purchase because we're still in the inspection step, which is good since I saw it sooner. Otherwise, she would have allowed the sale to go through, and we would have been confronted with the burden of selling a home sometime within the following year. When I moved into the new home, I had hoped to establish a small business and move it into a building that came with it. In the near future, my lease on my company building will expire, and I simply cannot afford to continue operating from that location. In order for me to create the items for sale that will ultimately be marketed by my firm, her salary and benefits have been critical. No financial troubles ever arose for us, and we were always comfortable with our financial condition. As a result, I must now find a storage facility for my equipment and arrange for its transportation. Due to the fact that I operate a small business and do not have a regular or continuous source of income, as well as the fact that apartment rentals are expensive without one, I will need to find employment in order to be able to obtain an affordable place to live. We also have a dog, and we need to determine who will be responsible for caring for him. The possibility exists that she would opt to keep him, which would break my heart to its foundations. My intention is to file for divorce as soon as I get the chance, as you have surely surmised from my tone. The concept of asset split has been discussed in the past, and we are fortunate in that we do not have any debt. There are also no children in the household. As a result of her refusal to break her work travel in order to communicate with me face to face, I will deduce that she is no longer interested in the relationship. If I were in your situation, I would explain that I had a family emergency and that I needed to go back home as soon as possible to avoid being late. Of course, I own a large portion of the blame for what transpired. On the whole, however, I help out around the home, keep myself clean and well-groomed, and try to maintain a healthy weight. I had the sense that I was also meeting my wife's needs in the bedroom, based on the steady amount of I was experiencing. The bottom line is that I felt my wife would be the last person on the face of the world to cheat on her husband. I was completely wrong. Her trust in me was unshakable, and I had the idea that we were in a condition of open communication in our relationship. When she was away on business in another nation, I just found out about it yesterday night when she called to tell me she had a meathead from work, who she, of course, would not name. When I addressed her, she claimed that the matter had been settled, but I knew that wasn't the case at all.